What? You gave me two sets of appropriation ordinances. I threw one on your desk. I don't know if that. No, you got another one sitting right over. Are those yours, Matt?
These yours? Those are mine.
Okay. Then I think he just put both of ours on my desk, on my area, in my area.
No.
Felt good, good.
About 7 o'clock. Start with the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, welcome to the St. Mary City Commission. Turn this on. Regular meeting for September 5th, 2023. I'll just, at the beginning, I'd like to remind people, please, if you would like at some point to speak to the commission, please come up to the podium, speak into the microphone, and please be clear, concise, and courteous. Thanks. First order of business is appropriation. We have 3 ordinances tonight because of the timing of the power bill in particular, and then there was some training for the police department, right? So that's it. Yeah. So items of interest on that 1213, Maurice, were
One was Hickman Environmental, so that's maintenance on the lift stations, and 1,000 of it was an agreement that we signed a few months back about doing twice a year inspection on those. And then the Briggs Brothers construction one, that one is higher than we approved, but there was additional work added to it, so it did come in on budget or an estimate, and then $1,712 worth of materials and $875 worth of labor was added to that project, and that was for the sewer line up K63.
The other item on the separate one for the, so number 1212, rec desk, that's the payment for the IT, for the software that we approved for them.
For the rec
And
department.
the other part is the training for the police.
What kind of training was it, Maurice?
Well, there was training in the regular one. leadership, management type of thing. This here one, was equipment.
Yeah.
I may have to just pull it to find out exactly what it was.
So that KU one was actually in the.
Yeah, the KU one for the
Okay,
police
sorry.
training was at 12-13. So it was equipment only 12-12.
That's the University of Kansas charge, $459.
Yeah.
Any,
What is the PACE Analytical Services? What was the?
It's for water and sewer testing.
anything else on the appropriation ordinances? Do I have a motion to approve the appropriation ordinances 1211, 1212, and 1213 as presented?
I so move.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So those are approved. Next item on the agenda, the minutes from the last meeting in the packet.
You had one correction. Another correction.
Yeah, he put an apostrophe in my name.
Oh, sorry, I forgot what it was. I knew it was.
That's all right. I'm not,
We'll take it out and clarify. I'm so sorry, I forgot that.
I may be possessive, but I'm not,
But was
I
that,
hope that I'm not,
I didn't catch
well, you know.
that.
The strike is close to home here. But yeah, substantively, I thought, that I find
Yeah, it looked okay.
consensus, so minutes are approved as presented. Next item is simply, do we have any agenda items to add? You wanted to add employee
health.
insurance, so we'll make that agenda item M, Mike. Healthcare, employee healthcare. Anything else? All right. So we'll move on to business. First item is Armory usage request from Andrea Clark. And there is a letter requesting one of 2 days, the 16th or the 30th, for a community event regarding the energy industry, solar panels in particular.
I don't know Miss Clark, is she in the room?
Yes, oh,
Okay.
would you like to,
Sure.
explain, please? Though your letter is fairly clear on this one.
Hello.
Hello.
So as I said, I'm Andrea Clark. I did submit a letter to see if we could get use of the Armory without a rental fee. The person I'm trying to have come speak is Daniel Turner. He is the founder of Power the Future, and he's an advocate for the energy industry. As you may or may not have known, and it's stated in the letter, but there is a solar company that's trying to come through and put a line out to the Evergy plant. This man that wants to come speak is wanting to provide education, basically, not really telling people what to do or not do in their decisions on what kind of energy, but wants to give full disclosure about solar. He's not against solar or wind. He is for efficient, affordable, and reliable energy, which at this point is fossil fuels. And so I think he would like to come speak and just give the community some more education about it so they can make some informed decisions, because it would affect the landscaping and much more in the community in the future.
Thank you. She has left, but are there any questions? I mean,
Yeah,
Go ahead,
so, Andrea, is it, I mean, you're not looking to get anything out of this, you're not trying to
Oh, no,
sell people anything, or?
No,
just-
no.
Okay.
No, there's no
simply
products.
Just
Yeah, it's educational only.
educational only,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. A lot of times when these solar companies are coming through, they're people are signing for extended term contracts, like 75 years. There's a lot of contingencies that these companies don't really talk about or disclose. And because he's had decades in the energy industry, he's really familiar with all of it. And so he wants to just educate the public.
So I'm just curious, is this a concern about, because he would have to rent land from people?
Currently, the solar company is looking to lease land from landowners to run their line directly to the power plant. Yeah.
We're doing that up in Jackson County, right?
They did. I actually did a little bit of digging, and it looks like earlier this year, I believe, in Jackson County, I was looking at the Holton Commission minutes, and that community didn't seem very happy about solar coming in. They had quite a few disputes about it, and so I just think it's a really good time to get educated.
So are there any other questions for Andrea?
No, I don't have any other. Thank you.
All right, thank you again.
Thanks, Andrea.
There are no conflicts with the space either day, is that right?
I don't believe so.
Okay, the 16th, is there a preferred date?
I did check with him.
Okay.
I think he was available those days as of right now.
So, I mean, do we have are we agreed in principle? If
Yeah.
it's okay?
Yeah, it was educational purposes or informational purposes, yeah, they're not trying to sell anything or make any money on it or anything like that, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Same.
Could be consensus for a date that would work for them.
Yeah,
And
well,
we
either of
free
those
on the calendar.
dates. Yeah, so if there's another one. Related to that Kansas Power Pool discussion we had after. All right, C-CLIP update.
In the packet was just a 6-page letter from the state. The only thing I wanted to draw your attention to was the timeframe for the rebidding. I'm not gonna go through it here, but it'd be re-advertised October 16th. And that should mean that we would know what it'd be by the cost by the end of the year, and whether you're gonna award it or not, because it'll weigh heavily on the sales tax fund. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
there's no action on the C-CLIP, I just wanted to make everybody aware of the status of it.
okay. Any questions? Good, thank you. Next item, Charlie, property insurance.
This is another FYI, so in 2009, I believe was when we started the process of quote bidding the insurance every 3 years. We did it pretty regular for a while, then we got an extension for 1 year for one thing. The point is, with Andrea leaving, we're going through the calendar to see what needs to be squared away. I'm not advocating for it being bid, I just want you to know that that's what's been done over the years, and we've got off track. Our current broker, Charleston & Wilson, checks with the other carriers. The issue we run into is when other companies bid, there's this thing called the agent of record, and then the city has to decide who gets that agent of record to bid at a certain thing. It's been an issue a couple times. I just plant the seed. You can look at the proposed schedule. If you want to do this, we'll put it on the agenda at a later date, but I just wanted to make you aware. And this 26 pages is what Charleston & Wilson helps us prepare, they prepare it for our review. And then this is what, if someone would bid, to get all the same information. That the insurance carriers, from what I can recall, approach things differently, ask different questions, but they all have this to start with.
Has there been any interest from other?
Well, so we haven't done it recently. The previous time we didn't get any competition, and I think that's a hangover from the previous time when there was required a special meeting on Monday or Tuesday at 10 a.m. to settle that agent of record matter and that. So.
But my understanding of this is that we currently use Charleston & Wilson
As
as a broker
Mhm.
to help go through the process of finding the best rates for us.
Correct.
So if we were to go through this process, we would essentially be having to do that discrimination process ourselves.
Well, you'd actually be bidding with probably a different broker. If the one that we have now isn't up to your satisfaction, because there's a limited number of insurance carriers, insurance cities in Kansas. So anyway.
Yeah, you can have brokers compete against brokers. some agencies can get a better rating, whatever. I did have a quick question. Is this like the up-to-date? Is this year?
This is 2016.
2016.
I just put it in there because that's the last complete one we had
Okay.
to work off of.
Yeah, because I saw some golf court stuff on there, like,
Get ahead of yourself.
yeah. Okay.
We've got a minute or two.
Actually, I did have a quick question, and this is the C-clip. I just didn't have it pulled up. Okay, sheet 2 of 6 of the thing, there was the original estimate, and then there's a column that says current estimate. I'm
Yeah,
not sure if I'm
so
understanding.
Just so you know, the original estimate, I think, refers to just the US 24 project.
Okay.
Then there was a revised estimate when we got that second project to add on to it. So it would have increased it significantly if that's what we're looking at.
Okay, all right. Yeah, because the total says 367,000, and then current estimate's 900.
I think, so the first one, yeah, that was definitely what happened. So we first got a project, that was the original estimate. You combine the projects, you save theoretically on engineering costs.
Okay.
This time, maybe not, cost-wise. But yes,
I
that's
didn't
what
know
it
if that
was.
was just the same project all of a sudden.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's 7:15 by that clock, so we are, the next item on the agenda, just make sure. Yep, the 2024 budget revenue neutral rate hearing. So we can begin that now, it's supposed to be at 7:15 or later, so I'll bring that portion of the meeting to order. So I think you got a letter. Get the people on the camera. The letter went out to taxpayers about the fact that the city plans to exceed the revenue neutral rate for this year's budget as we have for the past number of years, in order to fund the budget for next year, which means that we are charging a rate that will bring in a greater number of tax dollars for this year than we brought in last year. And the reason we need to bring in more tax dollars this year over last year is because, particularly with an inflation rate of 10%, costs go up. So the revenue neutral rate is a requirement, or it's a number that has been in place. And frankly, I'm not a financial person, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to me because I don't know how it's possible to run an organization with the exact same amount of money coming in this year as last year if cost change.
I think the main effort was to force transparency amongst some of these jurisdictions. So if you look at last year's mill levy, it was 25.177. This year's proposed mill levy is 25.342.
Yeah,
Prior to the revenue neutral rate situation, that would be considered by many a success.
Yeah.
Because it didn't move at all, really. But as the point is, it is generating more money as the assessed valuation keeps going, and you hold that mill levy the same. They were always assuming these tax increases without having to justify for it. So this is kind of a way to just have to make you, as elected officials, justify for it. And as you just said, it's difficult to, unless you pay off some debt, it's difficult to make cuts unless there's inefficiencies in the system that you discover, or you're, 4 or 5 years ago, we reduced a full-time employee position from the utility department. And that wasn't affecting the levy, mind you, but we have cut at times. So we have 2 funds that have the mill levy. We have the general fund and the special park and rec, and together that would be an increase of $59,494 to the property tax. But that doesn't mean that's what the budget's increasing by. The budget is proposed to increase by $108,149. The other part of that increase is through sales tax estimates, or transfers from the sales tax to the general fund. That's a long-established tradition here.
Yeah, and so, for what it's worth, I went through we all went through this process with a number of times with an auditor with Maurice. And I went through each one of these lines to see where the costs have gone up. And the basic answer is health insurance and 3% raise. So 10% for insurance. Property insurance has gone up quite a bit as well.
That too, I did not look that one up on the,
So-
so we usually budget 3% salary increases and a 10% increase in health insurance, so that automatically, you know. And we're talking strictly general fund, this isn't utility
Right,
fund.
yeah, so in case,
And
I think people understand that, but we only collect taxes to pay for general fund and special park and recreation services. So I don't see anything in here that maybe we're fortunate and the insurance costs aren't actually a 10% increase, but I think it's a safe assumption to make. And there were a few other things that under operational costs, one of them had to do with, they're mostly insurance rate increases, especially at the museum, and then there's an extra $10,000 for improvements in the park. Those are sort of the big things that stand out from my review of the budget. So in my mind, it's all completely justifiable. Very little change really, if you think about it, over the previous year. So, is there any public comment as part of the revenue neutral rate meeting? Or is there any comment, I'm sorry, for the other,
I'm here, Mr. Mayor.
okay, so I guess we'll close that revenue neutral rate hearing, and the coming out of that, though, before we go on to the budget hearing, which I guess maybe we've already kind of talked about, we have to consider, I think must be the next item on the agenda, in fact.
resolution.
Oh, yeah, we need to have we
So,
need the roll vote, the vote for the resolution in particular.
correct, the next item on the agenda is resolution number
Resolution
1523.
1523, which I think you have copies of here.
It's the same resolution that was
Yeah.
used last year.
Yeah.
Different dates. Requires a roll call vote, and when you're ready, I'll do it.
Yeah, and so all it states is that we are exceeding the revenue neutral rate. And it states that it was, that rate was calculated at 22.824. We had a hearing, and we are going to exceed that with that rate. And in fact, on here, this is all the paper.
Did we not read?
You want me to read the entire thing? I'm happy to, it's,
Me personally, I would like, yeah, I'd like.
all right, well,
thank
then
you.
let me read that. Resolution number 1523, a resolution of the City of St. Mary's, Kansas to levy a property tax rate exceeding the revenue neutral rate. Whereas the revenue neutral rate for the City of St. Mary's was calculated at 22.824 mils by the Potawatomi County Clerk, and whereas the budget proposed by the governing body of the City of St. Mary's will require the levy of a property tax rate exceeding the revenue neutral rate, and whereas notice of the revenue neutral rate hearing was published in the August 17th and 2023 editions of the Times, the governing body held said revenue neutral rate hearing on Tuesday, September 5th, 2023, allowing all interested taxpayers desiring to be heard an opportunity to give oral testimony. And whereas the governing body of the City of St. Mary's, having heard testimony, still finds it necessary to exceed the revenue neutral rate. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the governing body of the City of St. Mary's, the City of St. Mary's shall levy a property tax exceeding the revenue neutral rate of 22.824 mils. This resolution shall take effect and be enforced immediately upon its adoption, and shall remain in effect until future action is taken by the governing body. Now therefore, be it further resolved, KSA 79 TAC 2988 requires that a roll call vote of St. Mary's City Commission is required to levy a property tax exceeding the revenue neutral rate. Here's where we would do that. Are you gonna mark it?
Thank you.
You want me to mark it?
I will, are you ready for the roll call?
I'm ready. I'm ready for the roll call.
I'll say your name, and you say yes or no, or aye or nay. Commissioner Clansmith,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Childs.
Aye.
Commissioner Binsfield,
Aye.
and Commissioner Remainy.
Aye.
So that resolves,
Say resolution adopted 5-0.
The resolution, yeah, so the resolution, 1523 adopted 5-0. And a roll call vote.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sure. F, next agenda item, 2024 budget hearing.
Mr. Mayor, I suggest you open the public hearing, ask for questions, and if you're done, move on with the rest of the agenda. You come back to the end in case someone shows up late for the budget hearing.
Sure. So we're opening the budget hearing, and if anyone would like to, at 7:24, if anyone would like to provide input, you're welcome to do so at this time.
Hearing none, you can say, let's move on with the agenda, and we can't forget to come back to that.
So yeah, we'll leave that open and finish, in case someone's watching the live stream and feels the great desire to come down here. All right, agenda item G, Bob, street department update.
Yeah, so, just an update, well, we had some issues with our oil truck. We were able to get 80% of what we usually do for chip and seal. Generally, we'll, get another tanker, half a tanker, about 2,500 gallons, but we were unable to do that because the truck had some issues. We had some issues in 2018. Mr. Linfield probably remembers that it just snowballed. It ended up a $5,000 repair, ended up being $26,000 on the oiler. It's a 1999, so 24 years old. And a new one, they said for budget purposes, $275,000. So I did some research. There's a lot of smaller cities and counties even that are just hiring it all out, their chip and seal program. And one of the companies responded, so for an example, average block in St. Mary's, with us doing it, costs right around $2,000 for us, not counting our labor and fuel, just the materials. For a company to come in, it's about $3,700 per block. So that's an option. The new truck, there is a rental. You can rent a truck, but the availability is slim. They don't have a lot of these trucks just, sitting around.
Hey Bob, could I just say, on that cost of $2,000 a block for us, did you factor in the repair costs, or you're just talking,
No. That's
assuming everything works?
for them to come in, oil it, and put the chip.
But our 2,000,
No,
that's just materials.
Oh, yes, no, just materials to
That's
do
not-
chip and seal.
That's not man hours, that's not
Fuel,
fuel.
repairs, or anything that.
Yeah, it sounds like we've spent tens of thousands of dollars on repair, at least over the last 4 years. I'd just be interested to know, because 2,000 versus 3.7, that seems like a big difference, but
Yes.
I'm sort of in my mind,
Mhm.
it sounds like it might cost.
How many blocks a year? How many blocks
Yeah,
a year?
Oh, gosh, I don't know how many blocks, so it's an average of about 8,500 gallons. We use about 300 gallons per block, so.
Would there be a way to calculate, get that 2,000 number a little closer to home? And see if it's even,
That's, I mean,
Is 3,700 just, hey, that's some labor and material, job's done?
yes.
Okay.
Mhm. Now, I also called about the repairs on the oiler, and, they're saying, oh, it could be up to $10,000 to repair it. But I just go back to 2018, and it was like, well, they call every week, we got this wrong, we got that wrong, we're gonna need this new, this is going out, and
what are you spend in 2018 on the truck?
$26,000,
After being told it was what?
like a $5,000 repair.
And then since then,
Since then, very minimal, it hasn't had any troubles.
just like maintenance,
Yeah,
upkeep?
Didn't you just buy a hose?
We had a hose go out this year,
$1,300.
$1,300 hose, 4-foot hose, that's.
$1,300 for a 4-foot hose?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty big hose.
Oh, no, I
That's, that's half a block.
Material.
And, you know, it's not something that needs it this year, it doesn't have to be repaired this year, but I don't know what.
What are your thoughts? What would be your recommendation if we had to make a decision?
I mean, a 24-year-old truck, but they just don't make those trucks anymore. They're bigger and more elaborate, of course, you know, I think we spent like $60,000 on this truck back in '99, you know, and they just don't do that anymore. But a $275,000 truck, it's hard to justify for using it 2 months out of the year or two.
So we don't need to, you're done for the season on this?
Yes.
I'd be curious, Maurice, I think if maybe you'd be agreeable, the rest of us, can we get some data? I'd like to know the actual, no kidding cost. How much does it cost?
I agree.
And then we can make a reasonable comparison. We know how much it would cost to get a new one, but then it would still cost X number of dollars per block to do it.
Right, we'd be paying for a new truck every year, we'd be making a payment on a new truck every year, or a used truck, I don't know, could you even get them used?
Yeah, sometimes.
Regardless, we'd be making a payment on a truck, and we'd still be paying every year to do X number of blocks, and that,
And I would suggest even just with the manpower, it's more than $2,000
Yeah, it takes 4 of us
a block.
to do.
So, I mean, if we could get some, and maybe we could talk about exactly how to put that cost and that together, but we have some time. Does that seem reasonable?
How much did you say a new? truck?
279.
275 for budget purposes, I mean, you might get something a
That's
little cheap.
75 blocks.
Do they have, if, you know, you said they're big, do they have bigger ones and smaller ones, and are these trucks?
They have different sizes.
And this is the size that we currently have, that replacement for it? We couldn't go down size, or,
No, they don't make it that small. But
okay, so we're kind of at the bottom.
yes,
Alright, so you're asking for just more information to make a better decision, and
Yeah,
that's some
I mean,
time.
I'd be curious too, how many blocks we do a year. If there's kind
you
of
said,
management.
I-
Well, 85.
it's about 28, but by that number you gave me,
Yeah.
8,500 divided by 300,
okay.
so maybe 25 blocks a year, I'm guessing.
And we're
25
trying to do about a third or fourth of the town each year. We rotate different sections.
Does
Yeah.
28 seem like a
Yeah, but
reasonable number?
see, then there's some years we'll get a little extra because we need to do the park, or there's a few alleys that need it too, you know, and that's stuff that we can just work in because we have the truck available, and, you know, as we fix the alley or repair it, whatever it needs, and then we can come back and oil it, you know, as our time allows.
Did you want to talk about other stuff?
No, that's all I have.
So we'll just look for some more data. All right, thanks, Bob.
think about it.
The next item on the agenda, H, is golf course. Do you have anything in there?
I just had the survey results
Oh, yeah.
in there, and then same ones that were posted on the blog.
Yeah, so, put that down somewhere. Yeah,
Is that what you're doing?
yeah, I put percentages, oh yeah.
65.
30, so 65.4% answered yes, question number 1, which is basically, should we have a golf course? Would you like to have a golf course? And 34.6 of the respondents. And we got about a 40% return rate, which I guess is pretty normal for these things. Of the 65% who said yes, 7.5% said no to going into debt. So generally speaking, I would say for those who responded yes, we would like a golf course, they answered yes to some kind of a debt, but I think with the understanding, and this is where the wording does come into question, with the understanding that that wasn't gonna be tax money that was paying the debt. That wasn't on the survey, to be fair, but I think that, and that's why this is not the end of the discussion, this is a continuation of the discussion. So those are the survey results, and I don't know if anyone wants to comment on those, or,
Not so much on the survey results, Mr. Mayor, but I do have a couple comments on the golf course, kind of where we're at. I think we need to, come up with, request or come up with a list of conditions that we would like to see if we even go down the road of pursuing a contract. What does that contract look like? I'll give you a couple of examples. The way the revenue works, right now, since I'm a member of Great Life, I bought my membership at Western Hills Golf Course in Topeka. So therefore, my monthly membership goes to Western Hills Golf Course. I asked Rick the question of if we were to present a contract, would Great Life be willing to take every member that they have within St. Mary's, and I said a 10-mile radius, and automatically move all those memberships from wherever they signed up at to St. Mary's, automatically, without just all that revenue goes to St. Mary's. And he said, absolutely, we could talk about it. So he didn't agree to it, but he said, absolutely, we could, that's up for negotiation. But I think we need to come to get some ideas out there on what, if we were going to do this, what we as a commission would like to see. Like, when we had the meeting with Rick, when Maurice and Bobby and I went and had the meeting with Rick, he talked about us buying a couple of lawnmowers, the city buying them. I don't want to see that. I don't want us to buy lawnmowers. If this is gonna be their deal, or they're gonna run this course, then they can take care of it. So that's my personal thought on it. But I think we need to put together something and present it to Great Life and say, here's what we would like to see. I mean, I don't think it would hurt anything for us just to tell them what our thoughts are, or what we, even on revenue, if we say, if we have a $100,000 a year payment, you're gonna pay that. And you're gonna sign a contract to that effect. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll say, well, we only pay that if we make $100,000 in revenue, or we only make $100,000 profit, then we'll pay that. I don't think it's out of line for us to say, we expect you to pay off this debt. If it's a 15-year debt or a 10-year debt, we expect you to pay it off every year. Whatever we as a city would have to pay, we expect Great Life to pay. Because, I think people in general don't want to see taxes go up or have us dip into any kind of fund or anything like that to service the debt on whatever it is we could be doing down the line.
George, can you explain again how the revenue works for them? I'm still not wrapping my head around that.
So, if somebody signs up, they become a member of Great Life, they sign up at Lake Perry Golf Course. They live near there, that's where they sign up. They pay a $45 a month fee to be a member of Great Life, for just an individual.
Your microphone's so loud, I don't know when it's touched. What is your number?
5. Yeah, I think it's me that's loud, the microphone is kind of,
I can't hear.
Try again.
is that better?
I hope so.
Okay, so if a person goes to Lake Perry Golf Course, signs a contract with Great Life for 1-year membership, They pay I think it's $45 a month. There are different levels that you can get. You can get a family membership, you can get just golf on certain days, and that's a cheaper membership. But if you get unlimited golf, which is what I have, is $45 a month. I can play at any Great Life course in Great Life Topeka, and I pay for a cart, or I walk. I walk for free, or I pay for a cart. That $45 a month goes to Lake Perry Golf Course. That goes on their books as $45 of revenue coming in to Lake Perry. I go to Western Hills and play golf, and I rent a cart. Western Hills gets the golf cart fee of $20. Well, I think, or $10 for 9 holes and $17 for 18. And that $17 goes to Western Hills, but my $45 always goes to Lake Perry. And that's why I posed the question to Rick was, if we do this, can we automatically get anyone lives in St. Mary's, has St. Mary's address, zip code, and then draw a 10-mile circle around and get all of those as well. And all of those memberships automatically transfer to St. Mary's. So all of those monthly dues will then go into the revenue for St. Mary's. And then obviously the other, anything like golf carts, food, you buy golf balls, you buy shirts, whatever, hats, whatever you want to buy from,
Open the top golf.
and the Topgolf, all of the, yeah, because there's an additional charge if you're a member and you play Topgolf. And Nate, you can correct me if I'm wrong on these fees, $15 an hour? It's $15 an hour to use the Topgolf facility. If you're a non-member, I believe it's 20 or 25. 30, okay, so it's double. So if you're not a member of Great Life and you want to utilize the Top Tracer,
And where does that money go?
wherever they play, yeah, wherever they play. So, yeah, so you can, anybody that plays Top Tracer in St. Mary's, that revenue stays in St. Mary's.
Well, I mean, stays with Great Life, with that golf.
Great Life St. Mary's,
I'm
yes.
always wondering, where's the throughput to the city? And I mean, I don't think we can answer these questions amongst ourselves. I think this is kind of your opening point. We need to ask them.
We need to ask them. But I think we need to come up with those questions. Like, for instance, they've talked about, doing improvements to the golf course, which I'm all for. We have to, obviously, if we're going to go down this road of having a golf course, it has to be fixed. It has to be. And they talked about like putting, a miniature golf course and pickleball courts on there. That's all fine and good. Me personally, right now at this point, I say, we'll get your golf up and running, but if you want a miniature golf course or if you want pickleball courts, then you do it. Now, 3 other commissioners could say, no, we'll build that miniature golf course initially and we'll build those pickleball courts. And then that would be part of it. But I think we should get the golf course portion going if we're going to do anything. If, of course, that we could come to an agreement with Great Life. I mean, I know nothing is going to be very clear that it is not 100% guaranteed that we're going to recoup whatever the debt service is every year from Great Life in revenue that they generate. That's not guaranteed. So there is risk involved in it. But I posed this question to many people that have contacted me over the last couple of months. What do we do if we don't have a golf course? What do we do with that piece of property? What do we do with it? And some people said sell it. Some people said nature park. Some people have said city-run golf course. We don't want Great Life at all. We just want the city to run a golf course, just like the old days. So there are a lot of different opinions, a lot of different thoughts out there.
Would you like to come?
Right.
You can stretch your legs anyway.
I'm Tracy McClure. Last week or the last meeting, didn't you say something about revenue coming from like under an umbrella type?
And I was wrong, and I should have corrected myself then. Well, not then, because at the time, I thought that was actually the case. So the revenue does not come from the entire organization.
Okay,
The revenue comes just what St. Mary's generates.
okay.
He did say the things that are kind of under the umbrella is like health insurance for all of their employees. They have a separate fund within their organization that pays for all their health insurance. And that's kind of like, if you're an employee of Great Life, and the reason he said they do that way is because they do move employees around. Somebody says, well, our greenskeeper in St. Mary's is sick, or he's on vacation for 2 weeks, so we need you to come over and work in St. Mary's. So then all of those kind of things. So some of the expenses are under that umbrella, but I was, because when I had spoken with him, I didn't understand what he was saying exactly, and so I got clarification, and yes, I was not correct about that.
So half the cost, if I had it right, was on a new
Irrigation.
irrigation system. Bob, how, do we need a whole new irrigation system up there, do you think?
I think there's part of it that could be saved, but then again, I'm not sure either, because we didn't have much to do with the golf course. I mean, we'd go up there and help mow here and there when they got behind, or if they're gonna have a tournament or something, but that was just operating itself, the greenskeeper took care of everything.
If there's a break in the line, the utility department went up there, but they could see the break and just dug it up. I could not find a map that showed where all the lines were. I looked off and on for years and I have not been able to find one.
Bob, if you think some of the line is still salvageable, are you talking the main line?
Like the main lines going down each fairway and then just doing the feeder lines that go to the greens and the tee boxes and the pop-ups and the fairways, but I think the main line was replaced like early 2000s or somewhere in there, and added on to, so it makes one big.
But again, we don't know where this line is.
No, I mean, you can tell where the feeder lines come from and you can, extend it.
Kind of figure it out.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, the bulk of that is,
It would be nice to know what, because that, in my mind, the total cost is gonna be dictated by how much we have to improve it, right? And if we have
Correct.
to improve less, then the yearly payment would be less. And in theory, I mean, obviously you would hope there's revenue, but there'd be less pressure to get more revenue because we don't have to pay as much per year. So in my mind, that's an open question that we need to answer is I know we got brand new everything was the figure that they put in there if you add it all up. So what is that? I don't know if that's actually the case. It could be lower in theory.
could be.
So I'd like to know what that is.
I would too,
We need to figure that out.
But I think we need to figure out, we need to go in and inspect the line. That's what it comes down to, right? We gotta look at the line and see what it looks like.
I think so.
If there's no water in it, what dimension do you think those mains are? I'm not sure if this is something that could be cambered with one of these machines and, for sewer lines, but those are bigger lines and.
How big are the sewer lines?
I don't know, they're
6, 8, 12 inch. something.
Depends, but maybe we can find out from somebody that there's no pressure on the water, it's drained, if we can run something through there, if that would make sense at all.
My only, George, just to your point, I agree in getting the course back up as soon as possible. I do think the mini golf, the pickleball is a community asset to more than just the golfers. There are people who would be interested in taking their kids up who might not have any interest in golfing. And that, if I understand correctly, that would be a revenue stream as well.
Correct.
So the sooner those get up and running, the sooner revenue comes in. I personally would rather just do it once and do it right that's my personal opinion, rather than having continual construction ongoing in the course, around the course, if it were to be opened up again. So I would be more in favor of getting it all done, getting it done once, getting it done right. But obviously, if it makes sense, that's my thought on the other committees.
Right.
So,
I had another couple questions. So I don't disagree with what Nate just said about doing it all together, but does Great Light have a way to give us some sort of prediction of revenue coming in that they might be able to generate from?
I guess we could ask them for numbers. I mean, I don't know if they could project revenue. I don't know if they have other courses that are, I think, similar in size and scope to what we would be doing. And the other question is, that, you know, has been asked and that I wouldn't mind asking them, again, we can put it out there, do they want to come in and share some of this cost up front?
Well, one of the questions that I wanted to ask in that regard, ask Great Lake as a business, let's say that golf course was in perfect condition, ready to go, would they buy it for 1.5 million? Would they see that as a good business investment on their part? That's one question I would like to know, because, you know, Great Life, as part of this deal, has, as of right now, has zero liability. The city holds all of the liability. So as a business person coming in, like, I don't have any liability. I have the ability now to take over this golf course so I can start making profit. I don't have to put any money down. I don't have to carry any of the liability. Like, that's a sweet deal for them, and I'm not opposed to that. But what I would like to know is, and I'm not saying that they even have to fork over the money, but it's like, would you buy a course like this for 1.5? Would that make business sense for you? Because do you see it paying itself off?
Could be a good question for them. And I want to see them come in with something.
Yeah.
I want to see them come in with some of the liability or share some of the cost, the initial cost. I don't know what percentage that is, but I think it'd go a long way to show how serious they are about doing this.
Just one more thing, I don't mean to put any more work on our utility people, but is there a way to know by next meeting if the irrigation system,
You know,
we've asked that, we've talked about it a couple times, and again, I'm not trying to put more work on them, but is there a way we can find that out?
We'll look into it. Maybe there's a local person that has some expertise in it that would aid us, but we'll look around and see what we can find.
That's all I had.
I was just, as far as those water lines go, I know this isn't on the same level, but certainly we had the water lines in the city checked. You know, so that would indicate that there is a way of probably checking them, and those lines are probably not going to be the same, you know, style, construction, that type of thing. But one would have to assume there would be a way of testing. I'm not proposing that we get an engineering company out there to do that, but it does seem reasonable that we could test them in some way.
Okay.
I have just one last thing. I think we need to answer ourselves. Hypothetically, if we were to enter an agreement here, do we see this, I think you've brought this up before, Gerard, do we see this as more than just a way of revenue, generating sales tax revenue for the city? Do we want to keep revenue in the future after the debt is paid off? Again, hypothetically. And if we don't, if we said we would actually be fine, because I know their sample agreement, which again is a sample agreement, nothing agreed to, proposed a 50-50 split. Are we comfortable, or would we be willing to say, hey, as soon as the debt is paid off, you can have
Well, why would we do that?
90? Well, I don't know, that's what my question is, do we wanna get revenue beyond once the debt is paid, other than the sales tax? Cause if we don't, and we just said we would be fine with the sales tax revenue and maybe 10% of the revenues, right? We don't have a debt at that point. Well, then, the sooner they can get us to that point where the debt's paid off, it's an advantage to them. The sooner they can help us close that gap on the debt, the sooner they can bring in more revenue. So I don't know what we would want, and I think we need to figure that out if we were to assume we were gonna enter an agreement, but that's another, I don't know if it's leverage, but we have that.
Yeah, Nate, I don't even know if it's possible, but I would say, if we can get that debt paid off, if that was an incentive for them to pay the debt off quicker, knowing that if in the future they didn't have to share revenue, I would go that route. Get the debt paid off. Get it to zero, and then,
I like royalties.
there's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah.
But if it says,
Well, and the only reason why I say that is because the city is shouldering all of the liability at this point. Like, I would like to see something more like, 80-20 split up front. Like, we get 80% of the profit because we shouldered all the liability. And then,
that flips.
yeah, then that flips at the end or something similar to that.
Well, they probably use a lot of money for course improvements, there's probably gonna always be something that could be done. So when we have a meeting with them, they put together that sample proposal and said that they would like to know what options that you were gonna consider. And then at some point, there would be a public meeting, but only after the options were decided by the commission slash public. So that's also something to look at, is determining, do you wanna do the irrigation, the pickleball, and the putt-putt golf? And then let them know that, and then, so they can start.
For what it's worth, I think we're starting at the wrong end of this, like contract. I think that we need to,
Well, so this would be an attempt to determine the total expense.
yeah, so here, I take the survey simply to be a question, do you want us actually to try to figure this out or not? Sort of like with the flood mitigation thing. And I think the answer is, yeah, we want you to try to figure it out. I don't think that we were told, hey, we want you to revivify the golf course. I don't think that that's what that survey said.
I disagree, Matt. I think the survey said, we would like a golf course. We would like there to be a golf course. I don't think the survey said, go out and spend $1.5 million.
Right, so that
But I
means-
do believe the survey said, we would like to see that land
Right.
utilized as a golf course.
Check. And so that means we have been, I would say more than authorized. We have been told we should figure out how we can make that happen. We weren't given any constraints on, though I think we can imagine what they are. Because there are lots of things that I would like, but until I know exactly how much it costs, then, and that's what we're talking about, but I prefer not to talk about a contract yet. I would rather ask the specific question. So I think we need to know, like, no kidding, how much does it cost to do this, that? No kidding, what are the requirements? No kidding, what are the costs? No kidding, what is your willingness up front, Great Life, to buy into it? Because, the lower the debt is, which means the more they pay in at first, the lower the debt, the sooner the debt is paid off. So, as I've thought about this, which I have, and I'm sure we all have, if they're confident that this is a good option, if they're committed to it, then it seems they should invest something in it. We can't tell them to do that, but I would feel a lot more comfortable with that. So those are the questions, I think. Actual estimates, like what do we want? If we really want it, and I tend to agree with you. And I'm a little concerned, if 2/3, 1/3, that's pretty strong. But that still means that 1/3 of the community, which is a significant portion, is saying no. So I think we needs to be a recreational space that's not strictly about golf. And that they've offered that. So I tend to agree with your point. So I think we need to define our requirements, what we think is gonna provide the service that we would like, that the city would like for itself, frankly. And then what are the actual costs, and what are the actual, potential revenues? And if they can't project, of course they can project their revenues. They have to be,
They have to
it's
be
a
able to.
business plan. So that's where I think we are. I don't think we're at the point of show me the contract. I think we're at the point of, okay, good, we want a golf course. That the indication is that we would like to use that land for a golf course. And now let's, but I think we need to be very specific about the questions. And that, based upon what happened over in the recent past, in this very interesting document, it was called the College Crest.
Country Club.
I don't want to waste a lot of time, but it is interesting. I was reading this. You may have to know the document. St. Mary's Municipal Golf Course. And I thought this was the last 5 years, but it goes back to 1923. And this is what I was reading just before we started. The next city commission meeting was on September 5th, and it attracted so many people it had to be moved to the firehouse. Well, that didn't happen, but it is September 5th. And one of the points in here is that the golf course is being subsidized. I mean, this is 1970 at this point. In the 20s, it was subsidized by the college. In the 70s, it was subsidized by the city. And I don't think we want that. So
No.
that we don't want.
No, absolutely
And that's
not.
why we shut it down in the 70s. That's why they shut it down in the 70s.
They moved.
Oh.
The Jaegers shut down.
Yeah, there are some interesting factors, but that's why it was shut down recently. So whatever the answers to these questions are, it has to say, we're not gonna subsidize the golf course. Whatever combination of down payment on their part, revenue that comes in, and I would say we want a continuous stream, not huge.
I would agree with that, but I don't know if we need 50/50.
So that's my,
So, and that's kind of where I was going, Matt, is I think we as the commission, we need to come up with these questions. We need to come up with, like you said, what we put on the city staff is, does the irrigation system work? Can we figure out what works? And then and yes, I agree. I want to press them for their numbers. Where do you see this revenue coming from? How are you going to get to this point? How are you going to,
and how much are you, if at all, are you willing to?
Yes,
to-
absolutely.
To me, the biggest, I think we're at the very beginning, we're near the beginning of this process, getting real answers. But if it's a $2 million, which I think is a number I saw somewhere, certainly over $1.5 million investment, that's a huge upfront cost. I think we need to do our best to drive that part down. So,
Okay, and again, so that takes me to a question, and because I agree with you, I think we need to drive that part down. So do we ask them, hey, you guys willing to come in and pay for half up front? Is that a reasonable number, or are we saying,
again, I think we need to know what the actual number is, in which we determine by defining our actual requirements.
I think the biggest driver of that will be the irrigation system, because that irrigation system, they came in, they estimated $750,000 just for that. And if we can salvage those, if those main lines are good,
I thought it was 900.
$750,000 just for the irrigation. If those main lines are good and we could theoretically cut that bill in half, I mean, that would be big. That would be a big portion. But yes, I agree, we need to figure out what it is we want, but yeah, I'd like to see us move forward on it and say, hey, would you be willing to spend X number of dollars? Or if not, what would you be willing to spend? And if they say, well, we're not putting any money into it, I mean, that could be a deal breaker right there for the majority of the commission.
Tax write-off for them.
I think we can't answer those questions when we get there, but for
Right.
me, it would indicate, as I said, a lack of commitment and confidence. And so that would be a great red flag.
Confidence especially, I agree with you, man, it'd be a huge red flag for me if they're not willing, if they don't think, if they don't think that they're gonna make the money, then. But, so the thing is, I'd like to see is for us to put these questions down together and then get them to them somehow.
So
Okay, so what's the process for that?
Thank you, Mike.
Well, I'm just gonna go over what I think I heard tonight. is one that we want them to define basically a St. Mary's membership area. And from that, they can tell how much,
No, I don't, that's not where.
that's part of revenue estimate.
Well, yes, maybe. What we want is, how much is it gonna cost? How much are you gonna make? How much are we gonna share?
But we have the number for how much it costs. It's,
Well, we
it's,
have,
the only question is the irrigation gonna go down?
Yes, but what I was gonna say, they can't give you a revenue estimate if they don't know if you want pickleball, because there's a revenue stream on that, and the putt-putt, there's a revenue stream on that.
They should give it all to us.
Correct, and then the other stream of revenue would be the St. Mary's area on the memberships. So that's what was gonna be summarized for the revenue estimates, and then how much would Great Life be willing to participate into this?
If Great Life is only willing to give us the people that live in the 66536 area, zip code, and nobody outside of that, that's gonna be a different amount of revenue than if they gave us Rossville and Maple Hill and,
But I would like them to propose a district and then let you
Yes.
review it. Because they said 10 miles is negotiable, well, that would be a revenue stream, so I would like to ask them to put together a revenue estimate based on the amenities that will be up there and the proposed 10-mile district, and then ask them how much they'd be willing to share in this debt or pay up front, which make it a lower debt,
avoid that for everyone.
which would then
Bad debt.
reduce interest costs and that sort of stuff, and then also simultaneously be looking to this irrigation system and asking them if, you know, that would even be workable for them, because the irrigation is the key, they keep saying that, and they may not wanna use a salvaged
But yeah,
situation.
so that's my question is, I appreciate your willingness to go look at that system, but they're the ones who are gonna define what is a workable system. I'd be more comfortable with their somehow, at least confirming what you say. Because if we get an answer that sounds good to us, but then they come back and say.
they may say, well, no, we don't, your workable irrigation system is not workable in our eyes.
That's
Yeah.
right, I don't
So
know.
maybe in conjunction with, when we get to that point, we could invite them to come, maybe they have a system that maybe they can look at it and say what is.
And again, I think that would demonstrate, how interested really are they in this project? We wanna do it, if we're gonna do it, we wanna do it right, we just need to know how much that costs.
Is this something you want me to put together and then bring back to the next meeting for you to approve, or is it something you want me to quote, wing it on what we discussed tonight and to see if that answers your questions? Or just invite them to the next meeting so that they get it straight from you?
Well, I would definitely give, if we do invite them, we should give them a list of questions that we.
Ahead of time.
Yeah.
I don't wanna blindside them.
Yeah.
No, I didn't mean that, I just meant that, tell them we're having these discussions and they think it'd be helpful if you'd be here.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't know about the wing it part, I know what you mean. The next meeting is in 2 weeks, is it worth making sure that we know exactly, I would like this to be as efficient as possible.
I agree, no, I absolutely
And
agree.
accurate.
I would rather you put together a list of what you think, what we want. We could even send you emails, right? Individually,
Individual emails, yes.
and then present it to us, and we say, yes, this is what we'd like you to present to them, and invite them to the first meeting in October.
Let's see. So yes, step 1, wing it. Step 2 will refine that. Step 3 will,
Or I could direct them to the live stream, I do believe it's up and going.
all right, good on the
Good.
golf
Can I make
course?
one comment?
Sure.
Hey, sorry. Dennis Miller, yes, I live here in St. Mary's. I'm looking at this a little different, but to me, there's only 425 people out of 1,789 surveys that were male that said they were interested. And I wonder of those 425, if they had any idea how much money you're talking about, and how many of them would still.
Well, right, that's why I
yes.
fairly insisted that this wasn't the survey said, more yeses than nos, go. That's why I think we want to get this together so people will know precisely what we're talking about in terms of money. That makes sense.
Yeah, that.
And Dennis, I don't disagree with you, because a lot of people, you know, probably just saw it, maybe they meant to fill it out, but they never got around to it, life got in the way or whatever. But if we do this, then yeah, I would, obviously it's gonna all be done in open session where people will have the opportunity to come and voice their concerns, whether they're for it or against it. I would hope that they would come.
My thought was, out of those 1,789, if they're interested in a golf course, they would have got back to you. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
There's always an inherent bias to a survey. Only people who answer surveys.
That's right.
So we're gonna get some more data before picking any kind of decision. So good.
Just one last, well, go ahead, Bobby, thank you, Bobby. I think the hardest thing that I would like to push for is their revenue projections. I just want, I really wanna see what they think, you know, just, not just a gut feeling, I wanna see where they,
Yeah, like a business.
business plan.
That's something.
So
What would they do then? If they spend the money?
I just thought,
And they could buy that for one.
what you consider is checking into a separate entrance if this does go, because the academy's growing, the school, and it's busy, and if you're gonna have golf, you know, people going in and out of there, it's kind of a conundrum 5 years ago when it was going.
Yeah, well, in my other life, I have profound concerns about that.
Matt, that's a good question, Bobby, and Matt, I'll propose this to you, because you see it every day. Maybe not an additional entrance, but move the one entrance to the east. Move the academy, college entrance to the east along with the golf course. And then when they come in, it's just, they go left to the academy or they go up to the golf course.
Yeah, I think we spoke, my understanding is that it comes down to a number of railroad track crossings, let alone who owns the property.
And wasn't that kind of the sticking point in the past? They didn't want to add an additional railroad crossing, but if we took, now I know that's a historic, you know, entrance, I get all that, but if that could just be moved to the east, would that solve the problem?
It's a good question. I think it's a significant concern for safety. And traffic, just traffic. All these people coming.
We filled it.
All right. That's the golf course for now, so thanks, Maurice. Next agenda item, electrical substation improvement.
So this has been on and off the agenda the last year or so. When Westar Energy rebuilt a new substation north of town, they did an asset transfer of their old substation and property to the city. We've had plans, we don't have them in hand right now, that would let that transformer from their Westar substation be moved into the city's substation area and used as a backup in case the main transformer went down. So, last year the estimate was $250, this year it's $270,000. We got a verbal quote, verbal second quote for 1.5 million. So,
Great Lake covering it?
so Don's not here obviously, but he's recommending that we get this into agreement with Electricom. Now, Gerard's been on the board before, and that current substation out there and everything has been over the years built by Electricom in pieces. Richard was on there. We did for a while have a consulting engineer review some plans from time to time, but he's no longer working with the city because he's so busy with this other stuff. Don's asking that there is revenue in the fund to cover that. And of course, we'd have to amend the budget if it exceeded whatever we had budgeted this year, I can't remember. And he just was asking for consideration.
So are we looking for a motion to approve this because it's a significant amount of money or because it's in the budget?
I would like to have consensus to move forward because I can't ask you to approve something when there's nothing in front of you.
Right.
I would like to move forward, just simply the fact that it's high time we do it.
Well, it's a good opportunity because the alternative companies are a lot more expensive.
Right.
And this So 10 or 11 years ago, there was an incident with a possum that took down that transformer and power's off. It wasn't a full 24 hours, but it was dicey there for a while, especially at the beginning. But and this would avoid that. So if there was a failure, or if it needed to do maintenance, we wouldn't have an issue. Now, Evergy does have a mobile transformer unit, but that's hard to get around, and that bridge is kind of.
I hate to, what if situations, I always have, but could you imagine a couple weeks ago if that transformer went down and, what people would be dealing with as far as the heat goes?
So I'll just report if there is a consensus that let's get this paperwork out here
I'd
so
like
that
to see
you
it,
can
yes,
have
absolutely.
something to approve and review.
Yes.
I appreciate
Yes,
that.
there's.
Thank you.
Good. Microcom maintenance agreement.
So our water system uses SCADA. I've looked at our systems control and data acquisition stuff. So it sends signals from our water tower to our computers here, and we can check if there's if it's overflowing or if it's low or if there's issues with that. The stuff is no longer under the warranty according to the agreement. It would be $2,600 a year. I also included in this all the repair expenses we paid to that company since 2009. Don's asking that it be approved. It would be similar to the Hickman agreement that we approved the payments for earlier. You approved earlier that they look at our lift stations twice a year, so some of the minor parts, and they come out and do inspections, would be replaced as part of this. Major stuff, of course, if it were ever come up, it has to be. And I think the benefit of it, the biggest benefit of it would be that the technicians from that company would be looking at this and may be able to find problems before they happen.
Or, the analogy I think is good, interesting timing that we pay an annual fee for the people to look at these lift stations. And they found problems, which could have been really big problems if they hadn't done this. So I think it's a wise thing.
And that's the 2675,
Yeah,
2,675.
and that'd be annually, and we need a motion for that. And we have to get some.
Any questions or concerns on that, Richard?
I did, just one question. Reese, how is this, kind of relate to, or does this have anything at all to do with the, we made this agreement a few years ago with this,
Maintenance company for the tower.
right.
It's, so that's for cleaning and painting and repairing the tower. This is for the communications equipment that contacts that we use. It's part of the same system, but it's not part of the maintenance contract. They don't do SCADA. They look for rust spots, they clean repaint it every so many years and fix corroded spots on the outside, so that's still an ongoing thing as well, but
That's
yeah.
sort of our mechanical contract, and this is our electronic contract.
So as you, price you stated as presented,
Do you need a motion for that?
please.
Yeah. So do I have a motion to approve an annual fee of $2,675 for Microcom for maintenance and for a maintenance agreement?
I so moved, Mr.
I
Mayor.
have a second.
Second.
All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So yes, please. Maintenance agreement with Microcom.
So this is the stuff, sorry. This is the communication stuff up on the water tower.
Water towers, yes.
Okay, remember Olin was in here, is this
Oh, no, so
something-
that's
No,
their, that's antennas they have on top
Yeah.
for their internet.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's mounted to the stuff. This is what helps us monitor the condition of the tower as far as
Don's
it's.
office, you can actually, he has a status of the
Okay.
system that's very helpful, so we can see what's on, what the levels are, and that's the,
Got
the,
So when there's an alarm, they can go into it. So if someone calls in and says there's like 5 Sundays ago, that massive water leak, it was basically the transformer outside of the pump house that blew and it wasn't pumping water. so that there was no water getting up to Guadalupe or anywhere else in that certain area, and people thought it was because there was a main that was broken. Now, this didn't identify that, but it identified that it wasn't a problem, you know, so it sends signals back and forth, so.
All right, next item on the agenda is Richard's favorite,
I will say,
the refuse contract.
I put on the agenda because there's been discussion about bidding it, and since it comes due at the end of the year, if you're gonna do it, I think we'd like more time than less,
I think we'd open that to bid.
Also in the packet was the list of area towns, trash haulers, so we have some potential persons, companies.
Well, so this would be 4 years since this has been out to bid.
Well,
Because they had a 3-year contract originally, or was that a 5-year?
5 year.
So this will be 6 years since I think it's due time to
I agree, get it,
take
get it
a
up
look.
with it.
so we don't really have, Bob, do we ever get data from them on tonnage? We just know what they charge and we collect it and we pay them. They would have an unfair advantage unless there's a way that we can share information on the, for our fellow bidders. You know, if they know exactly what the tonnage is in St. Mary's for 6
You
years.
also work to our advantage.
Okay.
It should, isn't it public record what they're?
Well, the amount of money that we charge, but that doesn't show their expenses or whatever. I'll look over the contract again and see if there is anything in there about if they have to give reports.
I know we've talked about this a little bit in the past, Maurice. Is it advantageous for us to do the billing?
It can be for the customers that also are water and sewer, just wanna have one there. It causes problems when there's a problem and other issues. Sometimes people expect us to have some sort of control over this contractor who's not under our control.
Right.
You know, but we report to you folks and handle complaints. It would allegedly, and I say, I don't mean that in a negative way, but it allegedly keeps the price of the refuse down because city staff processes the billing and they don't have to maintain that over where she's south of Wamego. So she made a case that it would be less, the bill would go up, but I would say that would be something to put in a bid, is city doing the billing, company doing the billing, and see what the different prices are, to see if it is worth it or whatever, so.
Is that really, that costs that much more? How much time with the city people are we using?
Well, they're already doing the water, sewer, and electric, but we field phone calls and.
So the reason why at one point the city took care of the garbage, is that right?
Mhm.
Years and years ago, that's why.
No, not years, and
Hasn't
just
changed.
recently, I mean, she hasn't been doing that, we didn't privatize it that long
Well, he
ago.
just said 5 years plus
Yeah.
one.
6 years ago is when it was privatized.
Yes. So, but that would be something you put in there, is ask them to bid it with them doing the billing. Some of these other companies may wanna do their own billing. So the caveat here is the franchise was given for residential only. Commercial customers can choose whoever they want to haul their trash. They do not have to go through her, they do not have to go through the city. No one has to go through the city, quite frankly. Well, we do for the residential, but, so this would only be for residential, the way it's structured now. The business customers, can do whatever they want.
And I know we've talked also in the past about if we had multiple companies doing it, like the wear and tear on the roads, Bob, with the trucks coming through town different days of the week and.
Every day would be trash day, probably. Not that that's bad. I believe that's what's done in Wamego, that they don't give anybody to leave it open.
Chip and seal.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to see it, I'd like to see it go out to bid.
So just need a consensus on that.
Okay, so we'll leave it on the agenda, it'll be on the next agenda to give you an update. We'll probably just make contact with Chrissy and let her know about the process, and then, of course, if she has any issues, she can come right on over.
Well, she'll be here.
She knows the way.
So we're going to, put this out to bid then we obviously would want to start soon.
It's on the next agenda, as I
Okay.
said.
Okay.
So what I wanna do is review the contract to see if she's required to provide any data to you.
No.
There may be something in there on a quarterly basis, we haven't gotten anything, but there may be something in there if I remember correctly. And then from that, other companies can bid it, you know, if you're gonna go all or nothing. If you're just gonna leave it open to any hauler, well, that's an entirely different, there's no bid process there. So I'll, we'll keep it on the agenda.
Okay, thanks. The next item on the agenda is CD number 237100, which comes to maturity on September 13th, and we have 2 bids for that, which I will open and read. One from Bank of the Flint Hills and one from Caw Valley State Bank.
Which one are you doing first, Mr. May?
Well, I'm gonna open this one first. Bank of the Flint Hills.
Thank you.
And then, Caw Valley. So Bank of the Flint Hills. Would like to submit the following bids for the certificate of deposit, 237100 amount of $342,576.63, renewing on the 13th. 6 months, 2.75%, and APY, annual percentage yield, I guess. And 12 months, 5.25%.
5.25.
That's what it says, 2.75, 5.25. Suggests they want us to keep it there for a while. And the second one is from Caw Valley State Bank. Same CD, please consider our bid for the above described certificate of deposit with an annual percentage yield of 4.85% in 6 months and 5.05 in 12 months.
6 months was what again?
6 months was 4.85. Wonder if that was Mr. And the 12 months is 5.05.
What is the Fed?
6 months.
I don't think they're coming down.
I don't think they're coming down anytime soon either.
I'm tempted to do 6.
6 at
And then
4.
rebid it, see if it's higher or same. I don't think it's gonna be lower.
Yeah,
I'm,
6 months.
See, that's interesting.
that is,
6
that,
months at 4.85 from Caw Valley State Bank.
2.1% higher for 6 months. You want a motion?
Yeah, so do we have a motion?
I move, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
I make a motion that we, accept the bid of 4.85%, for 6 months from Caw Valley State Bank. We're on, CD number 237100. Do I need the amount, Maurice? At 4, yeah.
I second that.
All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so we will accept the Caw Valley State Bank 6 months at 4.85%. And there's one more item on the agenda that was added, which is health, employee health care.
So every few years, including, I'm sorry. Okay, every few years, including last year, the city gets approached by folks wanting to sell health insurance, and they put together good proposals, but there's no way to know how it would affect everyone. And our Blue Cross is continuing to increase. We're looking at 12 to 15%. We're a grandfathered group. Our new Blue Cross rep says the number, although 40% of her customers or clients are grandfathered, it's a shrinking amount of policies that are grandfathered, and they're only compared against each other when it comes to these rates. So when we had the salary study done by the Arnold Group, we asked them for a recommendation for a consultant, let's just say. that could help us look at these companies that are soliciting the city for these alternative ways of the health insurance, as well as the Blue Cross. So we met briefly, maybe 23 minutes, with this company, his name is Rose, last name is Rose, with Gallagher, he's out of Wichita. All I'm asking is that you agree to have him put a proposal together and present it at the next city commission meeting. And then if you don't buy into what he's proposing, it ends there. If you do buy into it, he would ask you to sign the agreement, need another meeting, because I hope it will be in the packet. We'd also have to give him, if you move forward with this guy, you'd also have to give him the authority over our Blue Cross bid. You know, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think it's good, but that's the reason.
What?
So he'd be getting quotes from Blue Cross on behalf of the city, as opposed to them sending their rep out and giving us renewals. Now, by the way, we have asked for our renewals, and it's too far out from this January renewal. But they do have information that might be handy that we should have before the next meeting anyway. So if there is an okay to set up that, and from that point, you can decide whether it's worthwhile or not. There is just a little handout in here. He did have an agreement. It didn't get put in the packet because it was a password protected PDF, and it wouldn't let me put it as part of the packet, so I was gonna set it out tonight, and some other stuff, I didn't get the other stuff, so that's why I waited to put it on the agenda. So if it's okay to set this appointment up, it'd be during the regular part of the meeting, because there's a 6 o'clock work session before the next meeting, because that's that rescheduled water and sewer one that got canceled. That sort of stuff, so that's all I have, if you want to do this or not.
I'm open to it.
I'm open to a proposal.
All right. Richard?
Yep, so we have a consensus to hear.
Consensus to have him come with a proposal in hand and give us a spiel.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I like it.
All right, that's the last agenda item. Do we have any reports?
No, we have the budget.
We gotta go back to the.
Ah,
That's right. See, I knew you did. Well done.
So you'd open the budget hearing, you'd ask
Yeah.
for public comment, you'd heard none, and then,
Last chance.
oh, we do have, so I didn't put on the agenda, but at the last meeting, we discussed the bicycle guy's property, and you also, Mr. Martell, and he's here. So I must have failed to put the letter in the packet. I invited him here. He was asking for more time, and I didn't feel that I could give more time. It was your responsibility. So Ron Martell is in the back. It's the golf court place there in the corner. So,
We had provided something like 90 more days at a certain point.
and it ended at the end of last month, and I'd sent a couple of letters and gave me a response. Then at the last meeting, you adopted the resolution, we published it, took no further action. Mr.
Right.
Martell had contacted us in between and is here asking for more time.
It seems to me as though he continues to make progress. I noticed particularly between the train track and the building, so I don't know. Would you like to say something
Yeah.
or?
How much time?
Just more time,
How much, Ron?
90 days.
Why not?
Not opposed to it. If progress is gonna be made, then
I mean, I think there's substantial progress has been made. I just, at 100 degrees, I'm not going out there. I'm telling you that right now.
I can't say I blame you for that. I'm not opposed, Mr. Mayor. Yes, sir.
Not approved.
All right, 90 more days.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That'll be too
Can we
cold.
make this one actually 90?
And now back to the budget here.
Yes, and now,
So you'd open the budget hearing, you
Yeah.
asked for public comment, you heard none. Carry on the record, so you can call again for public hearing, for public comment.
so I'm calling again for public comments on the budget. And I don't hear anything, so
Close the
I'm now closing the
The public comment portion.
public comment portion of the budget hearing.
So, most of the budget, the stuff that affected the taxes was during the revenue neutral rate hearing. But what wasn't addressed during there were the utility funds. So tonight you made a substantial step towards spending $270,000 that wouldn't have been in this year, but I had for next year. The point of it is those numbers aren't used to determine rates. Those numbers are used to satisfy the state's budget requirements and get it into the ballpark. The utility funds at this point, you're not talking about rate increases, you're not talking about anything, but at some point, after this work session next week, you may be looking at doing water line improvements, which would require an analysis of the rate structure, which could lead to that, but that's not reflected in the budget. What also is not in the budget is no money has been in there for the floodplain project. The last money expended by the city was on August 15th, 22. That was made a total of $120,737. So nothing's been paid to those folks since that time. Now they are doing that technical assistance program to the state.
But we don't know.
No, don't
the
have any
dime
for
on
that. That should be the end of October. And then the other money that has been paid out since then was to the Scarborough Surveying. That's $12,000, a little over that for some of their work. There's nothing in here for the golf course project or anything. I made that budget very tiny. This year, there may need to be a transfer, a small amount to make that fund, which is not a big deal. The water, sewer, electric all seem the same, 3% salaries, 10% health insurance. The big issue in front of you all will be the C-CLIP project. The escape hatch on that one is you don't have to do both of the highways at the same, you can just do one. So October, they're bidding that again, as I said earlier in the meeting. And then make sure, put that on
So
the.
I like, you've mentioned it before and it's in your notes.
Mhm.
I like the idea of transferring some money from the countywide sales tax over. Probably we can wait till we have the estimate, but I think we
You can
need
do it the
to-
last thing of the year. So
Yeah.
there's money in the sales tax fund and people will see that and say, well, why can't we do this or that? We can do a transfer at the end of the year through a resolution and put that, we already have a C-CLIP fund, it's called the Clink Fund or whatever, that's what it's called previously, and have that money set aside. So that way, when that does come through, if that fund would fall into the negative for some reason and need to have additional money from the sales tax transfer, it's not a budget issue.
Yeah, if you could just remember that.
Oh, no,
For the last, I
top
think
of-
that
top
no
of-
matter what, it's gonna be a several $100,000 a year or $700,000 project. So we need to,
1.2 or 3 million was the previous.
well, I mean, our input.
Oh, our input, yeah. So that's all I have on the budget.
So we can close the budget hearing?
You're welcome.
Anything? Okay, I'm now closing the budget hearing.
Okay. So you can wait until the next meeting. It has to be put up to the county by October 1st. We can adopt it here tonight and be done with it.
I see no reason not to adopt the budget. We have, okay, so, do I have, we probably need a motion to adopt the 2024 budget as presented. Have a motion?
I so move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we're adopting that 2024 budget as presented. Now, Richard.
I'm gonna make a motion that we adjourn.
So move, second.
I second.
All those in,
Who got it? Second.
Richard, or
we'll
Chuck,
give it to Chuck today. All those in favor vote aye.
aye.
Any opposed?